NCTV45 Newcastle, The Train.
Hello and welcome to NCTV45's Meet the Candidate. This public service of NCTV45, and today I have with me
Darryl Audia.
And Darryl, welcome to NCTV45 studio. And we're going to talk about Darryl and some of his qualifications. Hello and welcome to NCTV45's Meet the Candidate. Darryl is currently running for
the 9th District State Representative.
And I'd like to thank Darryl for stopping by and giving us a little time to talk about his views and some of what he would like to see for the future to help the community out, and that's what it's about. Darryl, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my family is the Audia family, and the Audia family is a lot of family. And they married into the DeSalvos, which is another large family. Our family came over from Italy, and they started Superior Sand Supply Company. That would be my father, Sam. Coming forward, I'm Darryl Audia, and we lived on Harlansburg Road in the township, but close enough to the city to get both the city and the country flavor. Now, I went to St. Vitus School, and after attending there, I left for St. John Candy Prep in Erie, Pennsylvania, which was a boarding school and was quite an education because we had people from Hong Kong, San Salvador, Ecuador, Poland. It was a great diversification. I played sports there, and I think sports is a very important part of education, or should be some activity, whether it's in theater, that's an extracurricular activity. Now, without going too far to the left or the right, I believe education is important, but I also believe we should look at the various educations that are out there. Votech, for instance, trades. My gosh, just try to go call and get a plumber. It's like getting an appointment for a dentist. So I see value in all forms of education.
Darryl, let me ask you, why are you running for state representative?
Well, it started when I was at St. Vitus, and an impressionable child at 4th grade, 5th grade, I'm not sure exactly, when John F. Kennedy died. We were taught at St. Vitus, you know, Christ, the person that sacrificed for us. And then we had John F. Kennedy, you know, we saw him die, you know, be assassinated. Everybody in the school was weeping. They sent us home early. It was a very big impression. I thought, my gosh, this is what we're taught. How can we give? How can we sacrifice? How can we give back? Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Kind of made an impression. It kind of sank in. Then Robert Kennedy died. Another one that was a giver. There's been many leaders that we have to admire. They just happen to be the ones that touched me. Now, with that being said, I went ahead and worked I went to University of Pittsburgh, and I graduated. Still had this dream of doing something for the community. I tried. I worked with Sister Lazoria at the Jubilee Kitchen on the Avenue down in the Lower Hill District. Actually, I lived in the Lower Hill District while I was going to University of Pittsburgh. And I also worked at the top of the triangle as a waiter, working my way through school. It wasn't always easy, but sometimes easy isn't the answer. So I learned a great deal. After that, I ended up getting married. I moved to Monroeville, and I worked in real estate on William Penn Highway for Vogel Real Estate in 1975. I ended up doing that in 77. Actually, I got married. But long story short, my background is a great deal of real estate. My background is owning my own business. My background now, after 31 years of working for government, working for the Bureau of Abandoned Mines, fixing properties from Harrisburg to Ohio, mine subsides, mine fires, mine blowouts with water, putting in pipelines, doing water treatment systems, We just finished one for $13 million. I did one for $10 million up in Cambria County. My job is to sit down, work with the property owners, work with the companies. Tetra Tech did the last one. Michael Baker did the one before. We've had to interface with companies, and we also had to interface with the public. That's my job. That's what I do. I try to make things better, and I do that by communication. I was a communication major at University of Pittsburgh, but my real estate experience was the foundation for this ability to communicate. So when you ask me, you know, what I have planned, what am I thinking? I'm thinking this kind of person is the person that would be fantastic, and I hate to say I'm fantastic, but the profile of my experience over the last 45 years would be someone that could actually serve this community, somebody who cares about this community. I came back to this community and believed in it, or I would never have come back.
Now, you talked earlier about the deal, and talk about making a deal.
Well, first of all, when we worked at the Department of Environmental Protection, unlike PennDOT, they used to have what they call eminent domain to be able to take a piece of property. There was no eminent domain in any of the work we did. I actually had to secure the cooperation of the property owners to let us do their work. I'd have to go over engineering plans, profiles with topography, and with geologists, engineers. I had to work between the engineers and what their realistic abilities were able to do, like closing off a mine where children were going back into it. The Elko mine, if you actually go on the Google, the Elko mine, and you see you'll see people that are kids that were going back 200 feet into the mine where there was absence of air, they could have died. Our job was to deal with the railroad, and and those railroads are tough. They don't like giving up any information, or they don't like giving up any rights. So, without sounding like I'm talking too much, my job is to serve the people. That's what I had to do. So I had to serve corporations like U.S. Steel, Chevron, RGGS, who bought all U.S. Steel's assets, RMP Coal, large major corporations I had to deal with. And I had to interface with them in a kind, amicable way, and in a way that understood their business principles. Without understanding people's business principles, they're not going to listen to you. You have to understand their limitations. So my job was specifically to meet with the heads of, U.S. Steel and other companies like that.
Okay, let's talk about, one of the things you talk about is term limits.
Yes.
You believe in term limits.
I do believe in term limits because, my plan is very simple. It's 10 years. If you should be no longer in there in 10 years, because at that point you should have proved yourself. And my plan is that after 10 years is almost a handing over. It doesn't matter what party it is. Forget the party. Let's talk about the people. Let's talk about, okay, I come to my 10-year limit and you're going to take over my place. Let me try to usher you in so that it's seamless, so we can work with the public instead of work against each other. Let's work together. But 10 years, you should have done something in 10 years.
Education.
You should not have to worry about getting a good education based on your zip code. I mean, let's be honest, you're not going to have equal things all over, but you can strive to have balance. Try to meet the needs of the people of where they're at. I've lived in a variety of different locations. I've gone from a boarding prep school, and I've been, at the Lower Hill District in the city of Pittsburgh. I can tell you that children are valuable. I'm an FCA coach for Shango High School football. It's been there for like 7 years I've been doing it. My point is this: I see the value in these children. I was a youth, I'm going to say a youth assistant pastor at the First Church of God, and also at the Newcastle Bible. I've worked with youth. Our youth are who's going to take care of this community. We can't ignore them. Laurel Colvin has a wonderful program. She works with children up there at the Epworth Church. She's trying to keep these children between the trees, because they are our investment. They are people we have to take care of. And that goes along with safe neighborhoods. Not only safe neighborhoods, but also safe streets.
Now, you are a pro-life candidate.
That's correct. And I make no bones about it that I do respect the unborn child. But I also respect the seniors. We have to respect them. We also have to respect those that have been afflicted by disability. I think I talked to one of your veterans that were out here in a wheelchair, and the important thing is our veterans have to be taken care of. And although we may not see an arm that's broken or a limb that's lost, we have emotional things that they have gone through that you and I, who have not gone to war, those people have to be cared for. We're not going to be able to understand that, and we have to have the professionals be able to understand. I'm 100% supporting. My wife teaches nursing. I learn a lot about nursing. She's worked in the psych field. You have to protect these individuals. They want to be healthy. You may not be able to see it on them, but they're struggling inside. So we have to protect them.
Now, as we turn to what I think is a very important piece, community development.
Well, first of all, there's a couple ways you can look at this. Are you satisfied with the economic base you have right now? Do you believe that you can go from job to job? What job can you go to? So we can look at it from the macroscopic view of the economics in this area do not provide for us to have good jobs. Our daughters, our sons, they have to leave the area. Are you satisfied with that? So community development comes by a macroscopic view of how can we keep corporations and industries, how can we get them to come to our area? We have a lot of positive things here people don't understand. We have basically a beltway. And are we talking about the fact that Route 80, 376, 79, and Route Turnpike come together? Are we talking about we're on the border of Ohio where they pay 7% to 6% more for clothing? Did we ever think about doing something over on that border? We have to think out of the box. We have to think about economic development. How about Cascade Park? I just had Angelo bring in something to mind to me. I said, wow, that's a great idea. Maybe we could get Cascade Park to become what it was. It was a destination point. Go ahead.
Now, with that, and the Cascade Park idea kind of segues into stability, rebuild, use.
Oh, yes.
And it really segues into this because we had talked earlier about, and I want you to give the example of the house.
Well, let's start with the fact that your tax burden is what it is. It's called a budget. Now, if you have 10 homes paying that whole budget and you knock one down, or you knock two down, who pays for that budget? The 8 homes that are remaining. They're going to tear down 17 homes, probably need them torn down now. However, my plan, which was put through the Architectural Review Board, which I sat on, and tried to get through council but was not able to get through, was a plan to expunge loans by lenders, by expunging those loans, by having them do this for the community. And you're going to say, why would they do that? Well, one of the reasons is if I could get them community credits, lenders have to get CRA credits, community credits, to be able to be in business. They have to invest in the low incomes and blighted areas. So if I could get them to expunge those loans 2 years before you're going to tear it down, and then I could hand it to a contractor, and that contractor would say, okay, I'll take this, but wait, we don't just want to hand it to any contractor. We want to make them put up a $10,000 bond. Why? Because if they don't do their job, we're going to have to tear it down. So what does that do? That means we have $10,000 to tear that building down if this contractor doesn't do what they're supposed to do. But the point is that $10,000 would go directly to the community that was sponsoring this. Now, simply put, we start within 30 days. The roof has to be completed. The windows have to be boarded up or they have to be secured. It's not going to become a crack house. We can't permit it to become a crack house. We can't permit people to go in there. The electric has to be done. The plumbing has to be done. Who's going to do those inspections? We have a code department. And I understand we've contracted that out. If we've contracted out, they can do it. But the long story short is those 10 homes are going to pay for those taxes. And we're going to have an investment where at the end of the day, when that passes code, we give them back the $10,000 escrow or we release the bond. It's a simple program. We can work together between state, county, and the city or the community.
Now, that builds a better tax base.
Correct, that's exactly.
And the government needs that funding for services. Let's talk a little bit about the tax base and just to re-go over what you think about the land banks that have been established.
Well, I have listened to some of the arguments of why they want to have these land banks. I believe these land banks could actually be the holders of the interim holders of the properties before they get torn down. Instead of tearing them down, there should be an alternative. So these land banks could actually hold that property that has no lien against it, if that makes sense, no judgments, and be able to be the parties that hand it to this contractor, hold the $10,000 bond, and expect them to get this done within no more than a year. It has to be completed. So when it comes back on the tax rolls, guess what? It's one of those 10 that are sitting there paying taxes, and they have a home that could be resold, could be rented, but it meets code. It does everything, and it regentrifies the area that appears to be blighted. That's the reason behind my impetus, my real estate background.
Okay, now, you support the Second Amendment.
I do. I believe that I didn't write that. I believe some people that were wise had reasons for what they do. They had reasons for why they did that. So my respect for that amendment is very important for these reasons. I wasn't in a position, and I'm not in a position to see why they formed those ideals and that ideology. But I can tell you this, as any bill that comes across, everything will be run through their eyes first. That Second Amendment was important. And before you tell me to change something, you're going to have to prove to me that there was a good reason to change it.
Now, if people want to get involved with your campaign, how can they do that?
They can call. They can call me directly, but let's just give you my email. That's easier. D_Audia@msn.com. D_Audia@msn.com. Or easier, you can look at one of my signs that says voteaudia.com. Go to our website, see my platform, see if there's something you like or you don't like. Here's my point. If you know everybody on the right and you know who they are, and we all know who the gentleman is on the left, okay, good person, but I think it's time for somebody with this kind of experience that I have to come and really try to jump in and change the community. I've been doing it already. I played nursing homes, music for nursing homes, 3 different nursing homes, pro bono. You know, I help run the underground refuge. I'm on a Salvation Army board. I'm a character coach at Shenango High School football. I believe in this community. I wouldn't be investing my time. My wife thinks I'm crazy sometimes, okay? And you know, but just like you sacrifice. You notice he's not on the screen. He's put me on the screen because it's not about him, it's about our community. And I thank you, Angelo, for inviting me here.
You're welcome. Now, I want to go in with one more further question.
Yes.
And talk a little bit about a vision. Okay, you alluded to what you do in your spare time, if you have spare time, as a character coach.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, my life is a bit complicated. I worked for government 31 years. I owned a real estate company, Audia Real Estate, and 20 years ago I began a farm. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I've sacrificed my real estate company. I basically have put my license with Keller Williams so that I could focus. I also have I retired from the Department of Environmental Protection for 45 minutes. I gave up 5 weeks of vacation. I gave up all the holidays and the sick days and the best pension to be able to do this. It's a sacrifice, just like I saw John F. Kennedy do. I worked from home. They gave me a car. They didn't even monitor me for 31 years except by telephone. I'm meeting every once in a while. What I'm trying to say, that's kind of devotion and respect that they've given me. I want to be able to take and use it to serve our community. I hope you give me this opportunity. I hope you see the vision that I see is to bring industry back here so that your children will be able to stay here. Or maybe by this time it'll be your grandchildren. And hopefully they can visit with you instead of being in Utah or Florida or California. It's not going to happen overnight. I'm not going to make those promises. What I'm going to promise you is I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best.
Now, once again, the website is voteaudia.com, and please go to the website to gather more information and get involved with Darryl, his campaign, and learn a little bit more about the issues. What we really appreciate here at NCTV45, I'm sure Darryl does too, is informed voters.
Amen.
Thank you, and this has been a public service of
God bless.
NCTV45. Available anytime on your time. Please share this with friends, colleagues, and family members. Enjoy. We'll see you again real soon.
NCTV45 Newcastle, The Train.